What possibilities lie behind mobile money?
Yeah, hi guys. Welcome to the fellow panelists. Happy to be here. I was just off running from morning safari, so I actually literally came directly here. So my background is actually in iGaming. I've been doing that for 15 years. Operated as MD for brands like BetSafe in the Baltic region, Olibet, which was an online arm for Olympic Casino. And last 2 years, I've been venturing myself into blockchain after being just blown away from what the capabilities, the use cases arising from the smart contracts. So we're now in the final phases of building Mintrest, which is a decentralized lending protocol. And yeah, I'm here to maybe I can give some food for thought based on my experience.
The reason I'm having this panel is very clear, and the reason I have you from the crypto, from the DeFi, and from the kind of the non-bank banking, is in Africa, the vast majority, not the vast majority of people any longer, certainly it depends on where you are, but a lot of people, many people are unbanked. And you have, so that's one thing. And the second thing is you have mobile money, or MoMo as it's called. In Kenya it's M-Pesa, but it's different in different jurisdictions and different countries. Dominates, just without exception, dominates. And so is there a chance to get beyond that? So Tiziana, I'm going to throw this to you first. Is there a chance to move beyond mobile money in the African continent?
Very hard. I mean, as we all know, one of the prime problems that there is in the gaming world today is banking. It's quite a concern actually. And with these new AMLs and new restrictions and more information and more, we keep going. Today, it's a situation where they want to know everything about you. It's quite a strenuous time. Now, in a new market like Kenya, it would be great to solve the problem prior and anything else, having the support, especially from the local banking. And the issue sometimes, as we all know, doesn't even start from Kenya. The issue starts coming from abroad because correspondent banks do not want to work with certain countries and certain banks. And today, banks don't like to do high risks. So this is why they let in the hands of financial institutions, payment institutions like us, they want to put the problem on them because they do not want high risk anymore. So, in my opinion, regarding to Kenya, there are various possibilities. I mean, that could happen. There's the new possibility which has come in the market in the last couple of years, which is crypto. But I don't know how much Kenya is involved in that. But yes, the possibilities are, but it's not about them really. It's about what correspondent banks want to work with and other solutions, other payments. Like crypto would be a solution, but again, it's something which they need to build on prior to anything else. I think that's the most core of thing was having banking in place and getting the money out and in.
Yeah, I want to come back to the money out and in because that's really important. But when you say crypto, Stephen, that's your area of expertise. Can you jump in on this?
Yes, crypto offers much more advantages when it comes to transactions rate and security and also trust. I believe that mobile money has been popular because it's accessible to the end user. It's been the foundation of that facilitated mobile payment. Now, crypto can be easily implemented through mobile payment without the user having to do complex transactions and major due diligence with a lot of different payments providers.
I cannot claim that I'm an expert on payments processing in Kenya or Africa in general. I know about M-Pesa, of course. I know it's widely adopted. I know that over half of local GDP here goes over M-Pesa. So it's insane how well adopted this solution is. But on the other side, if we wouldn't have M-Pesa, would we have sports betting? For example, right? If it wouldn't have been introduced more than 15 years ago, then would it be as adopted as it is at the moment? So in a way, I think it's actually good because that we have M-Pesa, because it has enabled for many of these kind of online services to flourish that we wouldn't have here if there wouldn't be this kind of instant banking capability. But where crypto and DeFi sit here, so obviously I'm aware, coming from iGaming a couple of years ago, I understand how AML cracks down on this industry specifically because it's very tightly regulated. It does, the banks just think like it's easier for them not to deal with it than to deal with it. So yeah, I think centralization in general, traditional finance in general, is kind of in the past for me personally. Obviously, sitting now in the other side of the fence, or how you want to call it. So DeFi, crypto. I think the problem, perhaps at the moment, that we still have in terms of wider adoption is, obviously the mobile phone, the smartphone usage here, which is not, I guess, that penetrated as in.
It's growing quickly. It's growing quickly.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So the other side, perhaps, is the fact that we still have, most of the transactions on Ethereum blockchain, or on Ethereum, which is, quite dependent on the high fees that sometimes it generates when you transact. Locals here, I think you do like microtransactions, quite a lot of them back and forth. So this is perhaps which doesn't really support that adoption yet. But fixes are coming, constantly. Blockchain is building up. Ethereum, when it's coding, when it launches its charting capability, which basically effectively means that it's towards the end of the year, which means that basically Ethereum gas fees come down dramatically. It almost probably would come as similar to Visa transactions. Speed is already there. People are waiting for it. You have enough sort of use cases, currencies, ecosystem is building up. So if the gas fees come down, I think that's an opportunity for this type of an adoption as we probably want to see in Kenya.
Just so people know, because I had to learn this myself, gas fees are just the equivalent to transaction fees.
Yeah, basically transaction fees.
In crypto, they're called gas. So, Stephen, with that, I mean, the adoption of crypto is in Africa, and the adoption of Web3 at large in Africa is faster growing than other continents around the world. And one of the things that is, do you see crypto becoming a realistic kind of alternative to mobile money?
At the end of the day, it depends on how complex and it's reduced for the end user, and how it's easy for the end user to adopt such payment. But it will definitely resolve a lot of problems with the current currency system. If we see Africa, for example, there have been some currency has faced some problems when it comes to inflation, for example. This can be easily removed by having an asset, a token, based on a stable coin, for example, or backed up by other assets around the world.
And so, Tiziana, how it would, just continuing on the crypto point for a moment, how would that fit into a kind of a spectrum of alternative payment services and non-banking services, the like of which you have networks? Does crypto have a role there, or would the alternative payments work alongside crypto?
Well, I mean, today there's, Stephen can confirm, today there's very good ways how to sort of, change crypto to fiat and fiat to crypto. There's very good solutions out there, and very fast. The only problem is costs, like also your colleague the person there, the name, sorry, James, yes, he pointed out, that the costs is another thing, there's a lot of costs. And basically, especially, it depends if someone is playing, yes, and his costs are very high, then it becomes a problem. But now costs are much better with regarding to fiat crypto exchange. So really and truly, it's a fantastic, I think, option, which in the last few years has helped a lot the gaming industry, because it got stuck, in many different ways. And I think it's a good solution. I think it's the best solution. But then again, it depends. Then if you're going into processing and all this, I don't know what's exactly. I need to go into that really, of how people mostly play there. If it goes through credit cards, if it goes to mobile, there's different ways you need to see, and different aspects, how it really works, and then you can find out exactly what's the easiest path, let's say.
Yeah, because I mean, mostly here it is mobile payments, and it's something we've all mentioned is cost, and it's like money talks in the end, and if there is going to be crypto or an alternative kind of a non-banking solution, whether it be e-wallets or payment services, if they are better than if they are better in terms of costs to the operator, that's going to make adoption easier, isn't it? So
yeah. So
yes.
I also think that the future is maybe less sort of scattered around the place, in between of all kinds of on-ramping, off-ramping alternatives. So, for example, what we're working with, so Mintrust is like a bank on decentralized finance. It's built on blockchain. It's very, very sort of transparent in the way that it operates. So centralized, the FTXs, BlockFi's, Celsius of this world, they are all decentralized, and they hold full. Like last year, it was big cleansing. So these guys, it's a black box. You don't know what happens with your money. As soon as many people use exchanges for also staking and holding the money in the exchanges. Exchanges, their job is actually just to exchange money and trade.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no point for anyone to hold money in the exchanges, but they still do. They did it like 6 years ago with Quadriga. They did it with Mt. Gox. They still do it, and probably a couple of years they forget about all this spectacle with FTX and these guys, and they continue to hold money in centralized exchange, which they shouldn't do. So when you hold cryptos, you need to hold it in your cold storage wallet, which is basically an USB stick, for example, or there's other options like mobile and browser based, but you need to hold your cryptos there, then nothing happens with it. When you need to exchange it, you go to the exchange, you trade it, you need to go there and then come back. In DeFi, everything is decentralized, everything is in the code, all the transactions are clearly visible on blockchain. There's no way to sort of, two kinds of stuff that Sam Bankman-Fried did with customers' money. So that's why I believe decentralization is something in the past, because with that kind of transparency, soon everyone will put that above whatever perks or benefits or rewards the central banking system offers you. As soon as the adoption follows through, as soon as the regulation follows through, it will be in a mass adoption, and we'll see something similar as we saw after the dot-com bubble busted, and this whole massive rise of all the platform businesses in internet platform business. So Mintrust is a bank on blockchain, on decentralized finance, and I think the sort of adapters to it. I'm not sure if there's obviously going to be a lot of front-end solutions, apps and so on in the ecosystem. I think there will be a lot of direct integration, like why into decentralized finance banking, like why would you need all kinds of layers between the transaction if you can basically have a sports betting operator directly linked to the bank? So these are a couple of thoughts.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a few things at play here. There's certainly the adoption of crypto. It's got to reach critical mass. Then you have the regulation at the regulator level, the gaming regulator. You also have to get banks involved, and so one of the things I think we've run out of time, so I'm just going to ask Tiziana one last question. You were talking about correspondence banks dealing with regulators, with different territories, and with crypto. I mean, how do we work with them? How do we, show them that we've got the AML, we've got the transparency, we've got this? I mean, because in Malta, you and I have both seen, like, all of the Maltese banks just almost overnight just said, nah, not doing any more gaming. Shut everybody out. How are we going to get alternatives and viable alternatives into markets, especially here in Africa, where a lot of people quite simply don't have bank accounts, and where the regulators and where the operators then need to move money, their own profits, between countries or between continents?
Oh, it's a difficult question because it comes back to Malta, which we all remember when we started the license in Malta many years back. We were recognized by all European Union and let's say most of the world. And then somehow people got funny. I don't even want to go in detail. We all know what happened. And all of a sudden we were cornered and left alone and said, listen, Malta's license is, same as ours or even worse, of another country in Europe. So you see, the correspondent banks part is very complex because unfortunately nobody wants to take the risk. And this is a big thing, pointing out also of the same person that was just saying about this just a few minutes ago. The trust in banking is the most important part. He's mentioning FTX, but we don't forget Wirecard, what they did, So it's also, it needs to be a trustworthy situation. And unfortunately, correspondent banks are not ready to give this out. They're not ready. So you need to find strong Kenyan banks, which are reputable, which also do a proper AML, because that is very important. Because if you go to an AML, which is nothing, then it's a risk because you're risking your money. So you can't go to some bank which says, oh, it's okay, I just need a couple of things and we're okay to open. No, it has to be a strict one, because like that, it means they're on the same level. And like that, correspondent banks start to respect those banks and start to say, oh, look, they do a proper due diligence, they do a proper AML, and so, KYC and everything. So this is good. So I think they need to find a way to get reputable banks, because the correspondent banks will only work with reputable banks. If they're not, then there's no way that the corresponding banks, we're going to get them on our side. It's already very difficult, but maybe it might help.
Yeah, it's already very difficult because we're gaming, we're already at the, every single red flag has been raised from a banking perspective. We've actually gone way over time now, so I'm going to have to thank you guys. So Stephen Tunnett from Radix, Tiziana Musu from Payment Execution. They are on the screen, but if you want any of their contact details, just let me know. I can get you connected to them straight away. And Vico, thank you very much from Mintrust. This has been a great panel. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.